You are listening to HOA Consequences. The HOA tried to weaponize a property line. Karen screamed that I could either tear it down today or pay daily fines until it disappeared. You want to argue? Great. Argue at the hearing. She stood at the curb with her clipboard raised like a shield, blocking my contractor from even unloading his truck. I held my phone at chest height, recording every word, and did not move. This was Canyon View Village Association. Salt Lake City, Utah, and Shirley Parker had just made the biggest mistake of her HOA career. I work as a property appraiser. I know what liens do to value. I know what selective enforcement looks like on paper. And I had just finished a cross-country move 3 weeks earlier, rebuilding my life in a neighborhood that looked quiet and normal, until Shirley decided my fence replacement was her personal crusade. She pointed at the survey stakes I had placed that morning. Those are not approved. You did not submit architectural review. You did not get board permission. You are in violation right now. My contractor, a guy named Luis with 20 years of fence work under his belt, stood by his tailgate with his arms crossed. "Lady, we have not even dug the first hole." Shirley spun on him. "I do not need your explanation. I need your payment." She jabbed her clipboard toward me. "Daily fines start today. $50 per day until you remove every stake, every string line, and every unapproved material from association property." I kept the phone steady. "Shirley, the property line is surveyed. The city does not require a permit for a fence under 6 feet. And the HOA bylaws say I can replace existing fencing without architectural review as long as it matches the original height and material." She smiled, and it was the kind of smile that made my stomach drop. I have done this before, and people fold every time. You will too. That was the boomerang line. I did not know it yet, but she had just handed me the rope I would use to tie her own hands. Luis shook his head and started loading his tools back into the truck. "I am not touching this until you two sort it out. Call me when it is clear." He drove off, leaving me standing in my yard with survey stakes, a roll of string line, and a finance committee lead who thought she owned the dirt under my feet. I went inside and pulled every document I had: purchase agreement, title report, HOA bylaws, covenants, conditions, and restrictions, architectural review guidelines. I found the section on fencing. It was clear. Replacement of existing structures in kind does not require pre-approval. Modifications, expansions, and new installations do. My fence was a straight replacement. Same height, same wood, same location. Shirley was inventing rules. I emailed the management company that night with photos of the survey, screenshots of the bylaw sections, and a polite request for clarification. I got an auto reply. I called the next morning and got voicemail. I called again at lunch. Voicemail. I called at 4 in the afternoon and finally got a human, a woman named Brenda, who sounded like she had been answering angry homeowner calls all day. "You need to submit your request in writing and wait for board review." "I already did. I sent it last night." She paused. "Let me check." Another pause. "I do not see anything. Can you resend?" I resent it while she was on the line. "Got it. We will get back to you within 10 business days." 10 business days. Meanwhile, Shirley had plastered a violation notice on my front door. Bright orange paper, dated 2 days earlier, claiming I had missed a mandatory compliance hearing. I had never been told about a hearing, I checked my email. Nothing. I checked my mail. Nothing. I called Brenda again. She sighed. That notice should not have gone out yet. We are still reviewing your submission. So why is it dated 2 days ago? Silence. I will talk to Shirley. That was escalation step 1. A notice claiming I missed a hearing I was never told about. It set the stage for everything that followed. Shirley was building a paper trail that made me look like the problem, and I was 3 steps behind. I started keeping a spreadsheet. Every call, every email, every notice, times, dates, names. I am a receipts person. I keep records. And I was about to need every single one. The next morning, I woke up to a truck idling at the curb. I looked out the window and saw a tow truck with a distinctive amber strobe, the kind that makes your chest tighten even when you have done nothing wrong. The driver was walking up my driveway, looking at my car. I ran outside in my jacket and trucker cap. What is going on? He held up a clipboard. Got a call from the HOA. Unauthorized parking in a fire lane. I looked at my driveway. I am parked in my own driveway. He shrugged. That is what the order says. I pulled out my phone and showed him the property survey. This is my driveway. It is on my deed. He squinted at the screen, then at the truck, then back at me. You need to take this up with whoever called it in. I am just doing my job. I called the management company. Brenda picked up on the first ring. There is a tow truck in my driveway right now trying to take my car. What fire lane? She put me on hold. Muzak played for 3 minutes. She came back. That order was submitted by Shirley Parker. She says your vehicle is parked in the guest overflow zone, which is marked as a fire lane after hours. I am in my driveway. I know. I am looking at the site map now. Your driveway is clearly marked. I will cancel the order. She hung up. I walked back to the driver, and he was already unhooking. Got a call. False alarm. Sorry for the hassle. He drove off, amber strobe flashing as he turned the corner. That was the second time the amber strobe appeared. It would not be the last. Shirley was testing me. She wanted to see if I would crack under pressure. I did not. I went back inside and added the tow incident to my spreadsheet. Time, date, driver company, cancellation confirmation. I called the tow company directly and asked for a copy of the service order. They said they would email it. They did. It was signed by Shirley Parker, Finance Committee Lead, Canyon View Village Association. No fire lane address. No violation code. Just my address and the words, unauthorized parking. I saved the PDF. That afternoon, I got an email from Brenda. Subject line, compliance hearing rescheduled. Body text, you are required to attend a hearing on Friday at 6 p.m. to address ongoing violations related to unapproved construction and property modifications. Failure to attend will result in automatic fines and potential legal action. I replied immediately. What violations? I have not started construction. I am still waiting for your clarification on the bylaws. No response. I showed up to the hearing. It was held in the community clubhouse, a bland room with folding tables and fluorescent lights that made everyone look sallow. 5 board members sat in a row. Shirley was at the far right, clipboard on the table, pen in hand. The HOA president, a retired guy named Ed with a gray beard and a resigned expression, sat in the middle. He cleared his throat. We are here to discuss the fence construction at your property. You were notified of architectural review requirements, and you proceeded without approval. I pulled out my folder. I have the bylaws right here. Section 12, paragraph 4. Replacement fencing does not require pre-approval. Shirley cut in. That section applies to minor repairs. You are installing an entirely new fence. I am replacing an existing fence in the same location with the same materials. Shirley leaned forward. Prove it. Prove the old fence was there. I stared at her. You have been on my street a dozen times. You have seen the old fence. She smiled. I do not recall seeing a fence. Do you have photos? I did. I pulled out my phone and showed her the listing photos from when I bought the house. Clear shots of the old wooden fence, weathered and sagging, running along the same property line I had surveyed. She barely glanced at them. Those could be from anywhere. I need dated, verified images submitted through the proper channels. I looked at Ed. This is absurd. He shrugged. Shirley is finance lead. She sets the compliance standards. If she says you need more documentation, you need more documentation. The hearing ended with a formal violation logged against me and a $50 daily fine starting immediately. I walked out of that room knowing I was in a fight. Shirley was not enforcing rules. She was making them up as she went, and the board was too tired or too scared to stop her. I needed help. I needed someone who could back me up with facts and witnesses. I called the surveyor who had done my property line work, a guy named Tom who had been doing boundary work in Salt Lake City for 30 years. I explained the situation. He laughed. HOA disputes are half my business. You want me to come to the next hearing? I want you to document everything. Photos, measurements, records. Can you do that? Absolutely. I will even pull the county maps and show them the easement boundaries. That is when I started building my trump card. Tom came by 2 days later and spent an hour walking the property line with a tape measure, a level, and a camera. He took photos of every survey stake, every string line marker, every inch of the old fence posts still embedded in the ground. He measured the setback from the curb. He measured the distance to the utility easement. He pulled up the county GIS maps on his tablet and showed me the recorded plat. Your line is clear. No encroachments. No easement violations. If Shirley is claiming otherwise, she is either incompetent or lying. He handed me a flash drive. Everything is on here. Measurements, photos, county records, and a signed letter from me confirming the survey is accurate and compliant. Use it however you need. I took the fine notice without flinching, because I knew what it would trigger. Shirley thought the fines would break me. She thought I would pay up and go away. But every fine she levied, every notice she backdated, every lie she put in writing, was another piece of evidence. I was building a case. I just needed her to keep digging. She did. 3 days later, I got another notice. This one claimed I had begun unauthorized excavation. I had not touched a shovel. I called Brenda. What excavation? She put me on hold. When she came back, her voice was strained. Shirley submitted photos showing disturbed soil and post holes on your property. I went outside. No post holes. No disturbed soil. Just the survey stakes and the string line, exactly where they had been for a week. I took my own photos, time-stamped, and emailed them to Brenda. I also included a note. If Shirley is submitting fabricated evidence, that is fraud. I expect the board to address this immediately. No response. Instead, I got a new notice the next day. This one was escalation step 2. A fabricated violation notice with altered dates and recycled photos. The notice claimed I had been warned on 3 separate occasions, with dates going back 2 months. I had only lived in the house for 3 weeks. The photos attached to the notice were the same listing photos I had shown at the hearing, cropped and labeled as compliance inspections. I printed everything and added it to my folder. This was no longer an HOA dispute. This was evidence of deliberate misconduct. That weekend, I got a knock on my door. I opened it to find a neighbor from 2 houses down, a guy named Marcus, with his arms crossed and a smirk on his face. "Heard Shirley is giving you hell." Yeah, you could say that. He nodded toward my yard. "She pulled the same thing on me last year. Tried to fine me for repainting my house without approval. I had the receipts showing I submitted everything on time. She buried my emails and claimed I never applied. How did you win?" I did not. I paid the fines and moved on. It was not worth the fight. He leaned against the doorframe, but I kept copies of everything. If you need a witness, I am in. Marcus became my second ally. He walked me through Shirley's playbook. She targets new homeowners, people who do not know the rules yet. She buries emails, backdates notices, and uses the board as a rubber stamp. She has been finance lead for 6 years, and nobody challenges her because she controls the budget. If you fight her, she makes your life hell until you leave or pay up. How has nobody stopped her? He shrugged. Most people do not have the time or the money to fight an HOA. And the ones who do, she wears them down. You are different, though. You are keeping records. That scares her. I asked Marcus to write a statement about his experience. He did. 2 pages, signed and dated, detailing how Shirley had buried his emails, fabricated timelines, and forced him into paying fines he should not have owed. I added it to my folder. I now had survey records, county maps, fabricated notices, a witness statement, and a growing pile of Shirley's own paperwork contradicting itself. I just needed the right moment to deploy it all. That moment came faster than I expected. On Monday morning, I woke up to find someone had moved a notice onto my door. Not mailed. Not hand-delivered by Shirley. Moved. The notice was identical to one I had received a week earlier, but the date was changed to make it look like I had ignored a second warning. I checked my doorbell camera footage. At 2 a.m, a figure in a yellow windbreaker had walked up my driveway, peeled an old notice off the recycling bin, and taped it to my door with a fresh date sticker. I could not see the face clearly, but I recognized the windbreaker. Shirley. I saved the footage and sent it to Brenda with a subject line that was all caps except for HOA. Evidence OF notice tampering. I wrote, "This footage shows someone moving a backdated notice onto my door at 2 a.m. I am filing a formal complaint and requesting an independent review of all compliance actions taken against me. If this is not addressed immediately, I will escalate to legal counsel." I hit send and waited. The response came from the HOA attorney, not Brenda. A terse email warning the board that Shirley was creating liability and that any further enforcement actions must be suspended pending review. The email was CC'd to the entire board, including Shirley. I read it twice, savoring every word. The attorney had just told the board, in writing, that Shirley was a problem, and Shirley kept going anyway. 2 days later, Luis called. "I got a weird voicemail from someone claiming to be with your HOA. They said the fence project is canceled, and if I show up, I will be trespassing. Did you cancel? No, I did not cancel. That is Shirley trying to intimidate you. Can you come out tomorrow? He hesitated. If I am walking into a legal mess, I need it in writing that you are allowed to do this work. I will have it for you. I hung up and called Tom, the surveyor. Can you be at my house tomorrow morning at 8? I need you to explain the property line to my contractor and anyone else who shows up. Done. Bring coffee. The next morning, I set up in my yard with Tom, Luis, and a post hole digger leaning against my hip. We had the string line stretched between two survey stakes, marking the exact fence line per county records. At 7:55, Shirley pulled up in her sedan. She got out with her clipboard and walked straight toward the string line. You are not doing this today. Luis looked at me. I looked at Tom. Tom stepped forward. Ma'am, I am the licensed surveyor who performed the boundary work on this property. The line is accurate and compliant with county plat records. If you interfere with permitted work, you are liable for delays and damages. Shirley ignored him and yanked the string line off the stake. It snapped loose and coiled on the ground. That was set piece 1. A string line showdown where she yanked the line, claimed it was proof I was out of compliance, and my crew refused to touch anything until she left. Tom stepped between Shirley and the stakes. You just destroyed survey markers. That is a misdemeanor in Utah. I have it on video. Shirley spun toward me. You are recording this? I held up my phone at chest height. Every second. She pointed at Luis. If you dig one hole, I will have the county out here to stop work. Tom pulled out his tablet. The county already reviewed this. No permit required for a residential fence under 6 feet, replacing an existing structure. Here is the confirmation email from the planning department. He turned the screen toward her. Shirley did not even look. I do not need your explanation. I need your payment. She turned and walked back to her car, engine revving as she pulled away. Luis looked at me. Is she always like this? Tom laughed. She is worse when she does not have witnesses. We reset the string line and started digging the first post hole. By noon, we had 4 holes dug and the concrete mixed. Shirley did not come back, but I got an email from Brenda. Subject line: immediate cease and desist. Body text: all work must stop pending board review of your compliance status. Failure to comply will result in forced removal of unapproved structures and legal action. If you are enjoying this absolute HOA nightmare, please hit that like button and subscribe, because the revenge is just getting started. I forwarded the email to Tom and asked him to send his records directly to the board with a CC to the HOA attorney. He did. His email was professional and devastating. Attached are the survey results, county plat confirmation, and planning department approval showing that the fence installation at this address is fully compliant with all applicable regulations. Any attempt to interfere with this work may constitute tortious interference and expose the association to liability. The attorney replied within an hour. Work may proceed. All prior stop work orders are rescinded. I printed that email and taped it to my front door. Shirley showed up that afternoon with a tape measure. She marched into my yard while Luis was setting the first fence panel and started measuring the height of the posts before they were even locked in place. You are over 6 feet. This is a violation. The posts are not trimmed yet. She measured again, holding the tape at an angle that added 3 inches. I am documenting this. She took photos with her phone, making sure to capture the tape measure reading from the worst possible angle. Tom stepped in again. Those posts will be cut to specification once the panels are set. You are measuring rough lumber. She glared at him. I know what I am measuring. She turned to me. This is going in my report. Daily finds continue. That was set piece 2. A tape measure ambush where Karen measured the fence height before it was even set and screamed about inches, forcing my crew to stop and document every measurement to counter her bogus claims. Luis had to pull out his own tape measure and level to prove the posts were within spec. Tom took photos of Shirley's angled measurements and added them to his file. By the end of the day, we had 6 panels up, and Shirley had taken 40 photos, most of them meaningless. That night, I got a call from Marcus. You need to get to the management company office tomorrow. Shirley is meeting with Brenda, and I heard she is bringing altered paperwork to justify an emergency lien. How do you know? My wife works in the office next door. She overheard Shirley on the phone. If Shirley files a lien, you are screwed. Liens kill property value, and they are almost impossible to remove, even if they are fraudulent. I hung up and called Tom. Can you meet me at the management company tomorrow at 10? Bring everything. He agreed. The next morning, Tom and I walked into the management company lobby with a folder 3 inches thick. County records, survey results, attorney emails, witness statements, doorbell camera footage, fabricated notices, the whole pile. Brenda was at the front desk. Shirley was in the back conference room with the door closed. I set the folder on the counter. I need to speak with whoever is handling my compliance file. Brenda looked nervous. Shirley is reviewing it now. I know. That is why I am here. I need this on record before she submits anything fraudulent. Can you call her out here? Brenda hesitated, then picked up the phone. Shirley, there is someone here to see you. A long pause. It is the homeowner from Canyon View. Another pause. She hung up. She will be out in a minute. Shirley came out holding her clipboard and a stack of papers. She saw me and stopped. What are you doing here? I am here to confront the management company about the fabricated violations, backdated notices, and fraudulent compliance actions you have been filing against me. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Tom stood beside me with his tablet. Shirley looked at Brenda. You do not have to answer to this. Brenda looked at the folder on the counter, then at me, then at Shirley. Actually, if there are discrepancies in the compliance file, we do need to address them. I opened the folder and laid out the first document. This is a notice dated 8 weeks ago, claiming I was warned about unauthorized construction. I moved into the house 3 weeks ago. Shirley, how did you warn me about construction 2 months before I lived here? Shirley opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. That is a clerical error. I pulled out the second document. This is a notice claiming I disturbed soil and dug post holes. Here are time-stamped photos from that same day showing no excavation. Tom stepped forward. And here's the county confirmation that the property line survey was completed per code. No violations, no encroachments, no excavation without approval. Brenda picked up the first document and read it. Her face went stiff. This date is wrong. Shirley, did you backdate this? Shirley grabbed for the paper. That is confidential association business. Brenda pulled it back. This is fraud. If we filed a lien based on false documentation, we are liable. I pulled out the doorbell footage on my phone and played it for Brenda. This is Shirley moving a backdated notice onto my door at 2 in the morning. Brenda watched the video twice. Then she looked at Shirley. "You need to leave. Now. I will be recommending an independent audit of every compliance action you have filed in the past year." Shirley slammed her clipboard on the counter. "You do not have the authority to do that." Brenda picked up the phone. "I am calling the HOA attorney. You can explain this to him." That was the trump card deployment. I confronted the management company in their lobby and made them confirm the record on camera, forcing Brenda to admit that Shirley had been falsifying documents and creating liability for the association. Tom handed Brenda the flash drive with all the survey data, county records, and attorney emails. She took it without a word. Shirley left the office without looking back. 2 days later, I got an email from the HOA attorney. Subject line: Resolution of compliance dispute. Body text: Following an independent review of the compliance file related to your property, the board has determined that multiple notices were issued in error. All fines and fees related to fence construction are rescinded. A check for the refunded amount will be mailed within 10 business days. Additionally, the board has requested a full audit of compliance procedures to ensure accuracy and fairness going forward. I read the email 3 times, then called Marcus. "We won." He laughed. "I told you. Receipts beat everything." The fence went up over the next week. Luis finished the job without interruption. Tom came by to verify the final measurements and sign off on the work. The fence was exactly 6 feet, perfectly aligned with the property line, and fully compliant with every code and bylaw. I took a photo of the finished product and sent it to Brenda with a note. Project complete. No violations, no fines, no drama. She replied with a thumbs-up emoji. The fallout came fast. An insurance risk warning that made the board panic arrived in their inbox 3 days later. The warning stated that the association was exposed to significant liability due to improper compliance enforcement and fraudulent documentation practices. The insurance carrier recommended an immediate audit and potential policy adjustments. The board called an emergency meeting. Shirley was suspended from the finance committee pending the audit results. Marcus forwarded me the meeting minutes. They were brutal. Multiple homeowners came forward with complaints about Shirley's selective enforcement. One couple had been fined for painting their mailbox the wrong color. Another had been threatened with a lien for parking a work truck in their driveway overnight. A third had been charged late fees on dues that were paid on time. Every single case involved backdated notices, buried emails, or fabricated timelines. The independent audit took 6 weeks. The results were released in a summary email to all homeowners. Karen says, "Nobody complains," and a stack of complaints appears. The audit found improper late fees tied to notices, selective application of bylaws, and multiple instances of documentation being altered or backdated. The HOA was forced to refund a large batch of charges across the neighborhood, totaling over $15,000. Shirley resigned from the board. Her resignation letter was 1 sentence. Effective immediately, I am stepping down from all HOA leadership roles. No apology, no explanation, just gone. The board implemented new compliance procedures. All notices must be logged in a central database with timestamps. All emails must be archived and accessible to homeowners upon request. All fines must be reviewed by the full board before being issued. And any homeowner disputing a violation has the right to an independent review by a third party at the association's expense. Marcus called it the anti-Shirley protocol. I called it common sense. Karen's own selective enforcement got documented in the minutes. Every fabricated notice, every backdated document, every buried email was listed in black and white for the entire neighborhood to see. She had built a system designed to intimidate and exhaust people into paying up, and it collapsed the moment someone fought back with receipts. The HOA refunded the fence-related fines and fees, including the daily penalties Shirley had tried to levy. I got a check for $1,200 and a formal apology letter from the board president. I see Shirley occasionally. She drives past my house and does not make eye contact. The fence stands clean and straight, exactly where it was always supposed to be. And every time I look at it, I think about the string line she yanked, the tape measure she used like a weapon, and the notices she thought would break me. She forgot one thing. I keep receipts. Thank you, and I will see you next time.